We are working now in Module 6, and in this particular module, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to work with rows, columns, and cells in your workbook. This is Section 1, and in this section, I want to talk to you about adding and deleting rows and columns, and also how to add or delete cells. You don't necessarily need to add columns or rows to have more in your spreadsheet. What you need to do is add columns or rows in the middle of a table. Let me show you how all this is going to work. Let's take a quick look at the exercise before we start working with our rows and columns. This is a company called Books and Beyond. You can see that this is the Northeast region on this side, and this is the Mideast region on this side. For each region, it looks like they're tracking the salespeople for that region. It looks like they're tracking their figures for January through April. And then over here are your totals. And even though this one doesn't say totals here, that's what column G represents. If you look down at the bottom, it looks like they're actually writing formulas to add up all of their sales for each month. They've also got one for the average right here and the high right here. And in a later module, we're going to go through and actually write those formulas. But for now, let's talk about making this look a little bit nicer. Let's say that I'd like to put 2 blank rows at the very top of this. Now remember, I don't have to do that because we do have a margin area at the top, but just for the exercise, let's make it look a little bit nicer. The way you're going to insert rows is you're going to start off by selecting the number of rows you'd like to insert. You're going to select them by clicking on the row heading, which is the number itself all the way on the left. You'll see your mouse turns to this black arrow that points to the right, and you just click. If you try to do this, that is not a row. That's X amount of cells. So make sure you click on the row heading itself. Now I said I wanted to put 2 rows in here, so I'm going to drag down so I get rows 1 and 2 selected like this. Now the way you're going to insert these rows is you're going to go to the Home tab, and if you go all the way over here where you see the cells, you'll see this insert option. When you click the down arrow, you're going to have several choices as to what you'd like to insert, but one of these is to insert sheet rows. I'm going to click on that, and now you'll see there are 2 blank rows at the very top. The new rows always go above the one or ones you have selected. Columns always go to the left of the one or ones you have selected. Let's say that you like column G to represent May, and you want to push these over into column H. Notice when I select the G at the top, that's how I select the entire column. Again, to select multiple columns, I could drag across like this, but I just want one in this case. Again, I'm going back to that insert option, and this time I'm going to insert sheet columns. And you can see it pushed everything over to the right, and I have a blank column. Now for both of these, inserting rows and or columns, I could have right-clicked in the highlighted area and chosen Insert this way. If you want to delete a row or column, hitting delete on the keyboard is not going to do it. That deletes the contents of those cells you have selected. To actually get rid of the row or column, you're going to have to choose delete. Now again, I can right-click and choose delete, which is the easiest way to do it. But notice there's also a delete right next to insert up here, and you can tell Excel that you'd like to delete sheet columns in this case, or if you had rows selected, you would have an option to delete those rows. Now you know how to insert rows, you know how to insert columns. Let's talk a little bit about inserting cells. Let's say that I'd like to put a new salesperson in the Northeastern region. And I'd like to put them on row 8 where I see Baker right now. Basically, I want to push everything from Baker down 1. I'm going to select row 8, and I'm going to right-click in the highlighted area and choose Insert. And now you'll see that I have a space to put in my new salesperson. But if you look closely, notice there's also a blank row over here. And I didn't want to do that because I only want to put the new person over in the Northeast region. This is an example of where you want to insert cells and not an entire row, because a row goes across all the columns. I'm going to go ahead and select row 8, and I'm going to right click and delete it. And here's how you select cells and then insert them. I'm going to click on Baker, hold the Shift key and click on 900 here. So that is the range B8 through G8. Now if I right click in the selected area and choose Insert, it's going to ask me, what would you like to do with the cells you have selected? I want to shift them down, and I'll click OK. And now you can see everything pretty much moved down one row. But look how it didn't affect this table over here. That's how you're going to put in individual cells. Now if I want to type someone in here, I can go ahead and put that new person in. This will be Mr. Newberry. He's going to have 150, 200, 125, and 275. And then if we want to get his total, we can actually use the fill handle and copy it from the one above it, and that way we've got his answer. That's a quick overview of how to work with adding and deleting rows, columns, and cells. Now that you know how to add, delete columns, rows, and cells, let's talk a little bit about changing the column row widths. Let's go ahead and move over to section 2, and I'll show you how that's done.